and welcome back to Love Your Food. After we did the potato roasty last week, we had a few questions about whether or not you could do it with a sweet potato. So we did that this week. This is our sweet potato or Yam Rosti. It's quite a little bit different. You're not going to get the same crispiness on the outside as you do with a regular potato because of how a sweet potato works, but we changed that with some pepitas. Let's go with our ingredients. So we've got our yam or sweet potato. We have some fresh sage. We're going to be using a shallot, some garlic. We have these beautiful pepitas or pumpkin seeds. And we have some duck fat that we're going to fry it in. Duck fat's going to be a little bit better than some other oils to get some crispiness on the outside of your sweet potato. So first of all, we're going to peel the sweet potato. Unlike we did with the potato where we left the peel on. The peel on a sweet potato is really tough and fibrous. You don't want to leave that in, so we're going to make sure this is peeled and we can get all of that off. As we did with the regular potato roasty, we are going to shred the potato again. Now, it is a little bit tougher. It's quite a bit more fibrous, so you do have to give it a little bit extra elbow grease to get it grated properly. You can also use a mandolin for this. That is just fine. It's going to change the texture a little bit, but if you prefer that, it'll work just fine. So once you've got your sweet potato all nicely grated, we're going to grate the shallot. So we're going to use the same size hole for the shallot as we did for the sweet potato. And we're just going to get that all the way down to as small as possible. You can also chop the shallot, but if you want to have it sort of in the same shape as everything else, then you want to grate it. We have our garlic. Now this garlic you can see here is actually very, very dry, and we are using the smallest holes on the box grater here, and it was really quite dry and hard. It was probably dry enough that we could have put it into a spice grinder, just blended it up. So then we're going to mix everything together with a good amount of salt. And like the potato roasty, we are going to let this sit for a little while to let some of the juices come out. And we're going to squeeze those out of our shredded veggies here. So once everything is well combined, you've got a good coating of salt on there, and the salt is sort of in touch with everything in that bowl. Just going to make sure that there's nothing sticking to the sides of the bowl, because that's going to dry out really, really quickly. And you want to make sure that everything's pretty much in a big ball in the bottom of your bowl. And just let that sit for some time. And you can see here, it actually did release. It doesn't look very wet, but when you give it a little squeeze, a lot of liquid comes out. So you can be a little tougher with the sweet potato because it is so much more fibrous. It's not going to break down when you give it a little squeeze, but you do want to get as much water out of there as you can, as much of the liquid out as you can. So once you've given everything a good squeeze, you've got all the water out, you've got as much of the yam as you can out of your bowl, and everything is ready to go. So our last little bit there. You can see how much of the liquid actually came out of that yam. It looked completely dry when we put it into the bowl, and now it's just it's released a lot of liquid. What we're going to do now is get our sage ready. So we are going to just chop off the stems. And as we do with most of our spices, we're just going to bundle it all together here and give it a nice little chop. We're going to make it pretty small, so easiest way to do this is to roll it into just a little bundle, and you get those nice even slices all the way through. There we go, our sage is ready, and that's just going to go right into the bowl. Then we're going to give this a good mix, just combine everything together. A little bit more salt. Remember, this is still a starch. It's going to eat a lot of salt. And a little bit of fresh cracked black pepper as well. And just give that a good stir and make sure that everything is well combined. going to break up any of those little lumps that you've got in there. You can see it's quite dry, a little bit more fluffy now that all the liquids have been taken out. So once everything is well combined, you've got the black pepper and the sage sort of mixed through. We are pretty much ready to go. So we're going to get some duck fat into our pan and wait until that gets good and hot. Now we're using duck fat because it is very strongly polyunsaturated fat, and it will help to brown or crisp up the outside a little bit better than butter or oil would. So once it's good and hot, you can see a little shimmer on there. We're going to get our mixture in there. This is a little bit thicker than the potato roast we did. And you can see it's got a lot more volume to it, which is fine. It's going to cook really, really nicely. It's going to be still really fluffy on the inside. So once you've got everything in your pan, you're going to give it a good little push down. You want to just push it down enough that it's going to stick together. You want it to sort of just be a single pancake. So there you go. We've given it a little bit of a push down, so that's going to stick together. Meanwhile, we're going to take our pumpkin seeds, our pepitas here, and we're going to give this a little chop. We want to cover the. We're just going to put this on one side of our Yam Rosti. So we're just going to give this little chop. Now you can see little bits of pepitas flying all over the place. They are a little tricky to chop, but we're just going to give this a chop until it's pretty small pieces, honestly. You don't want big chunks, but we do want that beautiful flavor and a nice little crispiness on the outside. So once that's ready, we are going to get that just on the outside here. Now this has been cooking for a little while, but it's not browning yet. It's we just had it on the heat long enough to chop up those pumpkin seeds, and then once they're added, we're just going to pop that into the oven. And we'll take that out after a little while. We're going to have cooking times as usual in the description below. And you can see around the edge here we've got some nice browning now. And those pumpkin seeds are smelling really, really amazing. They're starting to get a little bit cooked as well. So what you want to do is, you can see just from loosening it, it's not a single, it's not quite as single-pieced as the potato roasty was. But you do want to make sure it's loose in your pan. This is our non-stick pan, so you want to just loosen it up, make sure it can move freely, because we're going to flip this over. So once you can see it moving in your pan freely, we're going to slide that out onto a plate. And then we do want to add another little bit of the duck fat in there. So we're just going to add just a tiny bit more of the duck fat to cook the other side. Now our pan is already hot. It shouldn't take very long. This is just fresh out of the oven. It shouldn't take very long for the duck fat to get back up to temperature. And then we're going to pretty carefully flip that roasty back into the pan. There you go. You can see the browning that we did get on the bottom there, so that is great looking. Fantastic smell as well. Everything's really coming together right now. So we're just going to pop that back in the oven and let the other side cook. So once that is ready to go, you can see again a little bit of browning around the outside from the other side as well. And now is a great time to flip that out onto a plate. Flip the plate onto the pan, flip it over, and there you go. That's the beautiful browning on the pumpkin seeds on the other side. Now, you can see here, Chef Caleb's giving it a little cut. We're going to cut this into 6. And it's, again, not sort of the same together single piece as we got with the regular potato roasty, because the sweet potato is much softer when it's cooked. Those sugars caramelize and they become a lot softer instead of crisping up. Now the outside does have some crispness, especially from those pepitas. And again, you can cut this however you like. It depends on how many people you're feeding. It depends on how big of an appetite you have. You can cut it into 8 and only eat 2. Whatever you like. So we're just giving this a chop. We're dividing this up, and you can use this as a side for something roasted. This is make a great Christmas side or Thanksgiving side. I know we just finished U.S. Thanksgiving. And you can see that nice fluffy inside. It's well cooked. The fibers have all broken down, and it's this beautiful, soft, fluffy, quite sweet, and very flavorful roasty made with yams. The pepitas add this amazing toastiness, and that sage has a really nice sort of fresh green flavor that you add to this. It's all really delicious, goes really, really well with a lot of different rich and roasted meats, and we hope you'll give it a shot. So if you like this recipe, please do like and subscribe. And if you have any recipes you'd like to see Chef Caleb try on the channel, please let us know in the comments below. And remember to love your food.